It is more important to discover the great stories of your potential client than to tell your stories. So the fact that they actually went through it and are talking to you face to face, that is a big deal. There is something that is driving them and motivating them to have that conversation. Otherwise, they would not be doing it. And the best way we will get that information is when they start to share their story with us. We need to have this mindset of curiosity, not because we're like, okay, how can I find out the right answer so then I can buy this? No, none of that. But truly, if you want to be able to help people, we can't help them if we don't know what's going on. If they've just started to kind of open that door and share something, and then we barge in with what we want to say, boom, door shut, done.
The effective, meaningful human strategy in sales is to discover others' stories rather than focusing on telling your own. Welcome back to another episode of Sippin Matcha and helping you make more sales, where we take anonymous sales questions that have been shared with us and give advice that'll help all of your companies and businesses and sales efforts move forward. If you'd like to share a question to be featured on a future episode, you can do that at buildingmomentum.info. And Brooke, our resident sales coach, consultant, trainer, and matcha drinker, will love to give you an answer.
How many titles am I having here?
That's right. We'll just keep adding them on. Guru, sage.
No. Oh, goodness. Always appreciate your support, Scott. Hey, before we even go, I'm not entirely sure when this one is going to air, but everybody who watches this, all the millions of you, all you need to know is that my husband is getting his doctorate on October 10th.
There we go. Yep. So
he finishes it October 10th. And then you can just imagine all of the more episodes that we're going to be doing after that with all of the free time that we have. But he has worked incredibly hard. He is getting his doctorate in pipeline leadership training, different things like that at Liberty. And I'm very proud of him, and I just have to share that.
There you go. Yeah. Leadership, pipeline, and volunteer recruitment has kind of been my focus with my studies. So
awesome.
For those of you that are interested in that, let's talk.
Yes.
But, awesome. All right. So we have another question today, Brooke, for you. Thank you. That's very kind. And I am looking forward to that day. So we have a question today that kind of comes up again because partially you are a story brand marketing guide, and so then people ask you about stories or that type of thing. Like, what role do stories have in sales? So what role do stories have in sales?
I would say stories have a massive role in sales. It's not exactly the way that we think it is, though. There's a bit of a paradigm shift that goes on. So I want to encourage...
Hold on. I got to jump in. It's going to be a hot take alert here. So that's Brooke's polite way of saying everything you've heard is wrong. I'm going to tell you the right way. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Go on.
It's possible he knows my buttons, and this is one of them. So this is just, think about it in this way. So it is more important to discover the great stories of your potential client than to tell your stories. Let me say that again. It is more important to discover your client's stories instead of telling your great stories. There is a time and a place when we will start to talk about how we can incorporate our experiences, testimonials, different things like that. But it needs to be known. It's much more important to understand theirs instead of us trying to tell them ours. That's the very first piece.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about sales, and in marketing, it's a little bit of a different answer. You do have to tell stories to get people's attention in that, because you're sending out mass messages to many people at once. But in sales, when you're talking to people, it's more important to discover people's stories than tell your own. So how do we do that? Because most people don't approach sales that way. This is a different way that you approach sales.
Yes, most people don't. And good humans don't. They're just like, okay, I need to know what I'm going to say, and I have to have it all set up, and I'm ready to go. So the very first thing I would say is you actually just need to pause before you go into your sales conversation, because it is going to be our natural tendency to start talking about ourselves and asking questions. Before we do that, we just want to be able to pause For me, as we've shared before, my faith is very important to me. So it's literally like a Jesus take the wheel type of situation where anytime I've actually prayed before I walk into a sales meeting, always goes better than when I don't. And I'm not saying he's like a lamp that I get to rub and he like blesses everything that I ask him to, but I'm just saying it helps me to remember, help me to serve them. Help me to think about how I can be able to help make their life better, whether they choose to work with me or not. Help me to be aware and to be wise in regards to how to be able to move this conversation forward. So whether you pray, whatever you're going to do, just take a moment and remind yourself, this is not about me. This is about them. And that's going to start us on the right foot.
Yeah, there's a verse that in Philippians that says, look not only to your interests, but also to the interests of others. And this is what you're saying. Okay, pause, remind yourself, and say, okay, this isn't just about me. This is about the other person. And maybe even more important than it being about me, it's more about them.
100%.
All right, so we've reminded ourselves, we've paused. Jesus has taken the wheel. What do we do?
All right, so then the next one is remind yourself that when we start asking questions, we do not want to focus on just questions that are going to benefit us. So as an example, knowing what their timeline is, knowing their budget, knowing what they're looking for, all of those actually benefit us. And then they walk away feeling like, well, I already knew all of that. So those questions are not bad, but we cannot stay there. We cannot just ask questions that are going to benefit us and more of those diagnostic questions. That is not going to help us to get to their story.
All right. So what kind of questions do we there are some questions that we have just to get the details, but what kind of questions do we ask?
So one of the very first questions I ever asked, this started like 15 years ago, is I'll say, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what actually caused you to want to talk to me today? It opens it up. It's not like, why are you here? But it's just saying, hey, what's caused you to want to talk to me today? And you would be surprised how many times, if you genuinely want to know that, and that's not just some line or a script that you're saying, how many times that wall will start to go down and they will start sharing with you what's going on, like truly the reason they were talking to you. And if I can just encourage you, if we are talking about having those sales conversations, that's about the last thing they want to do. So the fact that they actually went through it and are talking to you face to face, that is a big deal. There is something that is driving them and motivating them to have that conversation. Otherwise, they would not be doing it.
Yeah, and I hear you do that from the other room sometime. I see you do that, not exactly the same in social situations, but I know our kids are always like, how is like mom having this big heart-to-heart? I'm like, it's just what she does. But it's not just what you do. It's because you ask an intentional question that opens the door up to a more meaningful or thoughtful dialogue than just what's going on, like what's your sales,
what's the weather like, what's this going on. Yeah. None of those are bad, but that's not going to get to what's driving them and motivating them. So we're wanting to know, what are the circumstances around what's happening, what's motivating them. Those are the types of questions we're trying to understand. And the best way we will get that information is when they start to share their story with us. When they start giving you examples and they start going more into, well, I'm having problems with so-and-so, or this didn't get done the way that it needed to, but like it's expanded and they're talking about their problem for more than one sentence. Now we know we're beginning to understand what's truly going to decide whether they're going to make a buying decision or not. And not in a manipulative way. Like, we need to know where they're coming from and what's truly helping them make those decisions. So we, as good humans, can be able to respond and say, hey, this is something I can help you with, and this is what it looks like. This is the investment. Or, you know what, as we're talking, this doesn't seem like something I'm going to be able to give you the support that you're looking for, but I have other people that I could be able to introduce you to. That is truly the point. So we want to be able to encourage them and what they're sharing, and then we're just going to keep exploring more and asking more questions to benefit them, not us.
Yeah, and to think about it a different way, like a good mark that you've gotten to this point is like if you were filling out a form based on their answers, like you've shifted from the single line box to the paragraph. It can be as long, like they're telling you stories. They're telling you not just the short answers, but they're engaging and they're saying, well, this is, what put me, I've been thinking about this for a long time. This is what happened that put me over the edge. And maybe that's a problem that got really bad. Maybe that's our budget was like, I've been watching you and the budget's finally approved. I am ready to go. And so now we're going to, and all of that helps you inform how you can best serve your customers in that moment. So,
Yeah.
Were you going to say more?
I was just talking to someone and they just shared with me the other day where they were saying the final straw in regards to starting to work with me and reaching out was that they were working with their business coach and things that were happening. And they just said, they're like, this piece has to get solved. We have to figure out what's going on in sales or it's not going to go in the direction that you want it to. And so by them being able to share those stories and helping me to understand, then we can start to figure out, okay, how can we be able to help them? Along with that, what's the type of urgency that they're needing? Those types of things, not in a way to manipulate, but truly to be able to help, to say, okay, these are the things that you're coming to me with. Now let me see how I can be able to give you direction and hope with that.
So most people, when they start to have these conversations, don't immediately go from nothing to here's all the deepest motivations, and that you kind of have to build the trust in that in the conversation. So how can somebody, when somebody begins to share some of the circumstances, some of the motivations, how can you cultivate that conversation to keep finding it out, to keep it going?
Yeah. So there are 3 steps that I would encourage. The first one is just encourage them. That's the first one, encourage. So whatever they're telling you, you're going to agree with it. You're going to encourage them to keep being able to share. So if they're like, well, such and such happened and it was really frustrating, oh, I'm really sorry. How did that affect, da, da, da. We're encouraging, but right along with it, then we're exploring. We need to have this mindset of curiosity, not because we're okay, how can I find out the right answer so then I can da, 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 buy this. No, none of that. But truly, if you want to be able to help people, we can't help them if we don't know what's going on. And so you have to have that mindset of curiosity, asking questions. So we encourage, we explore through curiosity. And then the third piece is we zip it. That's we do not try to solve their problem. So many times people will be like, my sales are down. And it's easy for me to slip in and be like, oh, that is so frustrating. I'm so sorry. I've created this sales accelerator lab and we've done this and this, and these are the things that have happened. And then we just launch in to what we can do. And we have missed it. If they've just started to kind of open that door and share something, and then we barge in with what we want to say, boom, door shut, done. Then at that point, it's oh, okay. And in their mind, they're like, this is every other thing. Nobody is actually listening to what we need for our business. That's literally the types of things that are going on in their head. So you have to encourage, explore with curiosity, and zip it.
Yeah, and another way to say encourage, because I had all these jokes lined up, would be support. So support, explore, and zip it. And so I had Brooke says, Simon says, there was going to be an allusion to that great movie that Dennis Rodman starred in the late 90s. Simon says it was going to be beautiful and you were going to die laughing. All the people that listen were going to thought, whatever 3 steps you choose, support, explore, zip it, or encourage. We could do ease, explore. Encourage, explore, zip it. The principle remains true.
Do ease. We could be like, how do you understand your customers' problems? It's ease.
And you thought my jokes about Simon Says were bad. So, all right. After that rabbit trail.
But no, I do want to say, I know we're joking, but when I'm coaching, people literally put the little things that I say, they post it on their computer so that when they're having those conversations, when they're having those Zooms, they're like, oh, this 1, 2, 3, this is what I'm trying to do. And so that's what it is. It's easy.
All right.
Except there's no why.
Right. We may have some work to do. We'll keep workshopping that one. But
I think it's a little confusing in our messaging right now.
Hopefully, despite the train wreck that it's turned into, that no. I'm being mean. No, it's been really helpful, really good, and all that to say, if we come back to the original question of what role do stories have, They play a big part in sales. They're a huge role. But the trick in sales, not trick. You don't like. I don't like that word. The effective, meaningful, human strategy in sales is to discover others' stories rather than focusing on telling your own. Now, we're going to come back at some point in the future, and we're going to have another episode. Maybe it'll be the next episode on how to tell your own stories in a way that resonates and complements this. But the most important thing is hear their stories before you start telling your own.
Yes, exactly. Wonderful.
All right, if this has been valuable for you, we'd love it if you like it, if you share it, if you give us a review, if you subscribe, if you watch on YouTube and hit the little bell icon so that you can know when another episode comes up, and all of those things. We'd really appreciate it. We hope that you enjoy a good cup of matcha and make some more sales because of this. Have a great day.
Bye, guys. See you soon.